Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Minding Mind podcast, where we live life with ease, connection, and permission to just be. I'm your host, Evelyn LeVasseur, and welcome back to another episode. This week, we're talking about something that's like near and dear to my heart. You're going to see me referring to my notes if you're watching the video. But this week is all about really understanding the difference between physical safety and emotional safety because so many of us were not taught that. I mean, the majority of us know what physical safety is, but emotional safety, like that's way trickier and it's kind of quieter, more subtle. And not only were we not taught to name it, to recognize it, to embody it, we were taught not to expect it from other people. And I think sometimes we don't even recognize how we kind of are just perpetuating the same thing in our relationships that we don't want done to ourselves. So we're going to get into this completely. We are going to talk all about physical safety and emotional safety and get real clear here. So physical safety, I want you to think about this. Physical safety is tangible. It's pretty easy, right? You recognize like there's a threat to your body. It could be violence, it could be injury, it could be harm of some sort. And the thing is that your nervous system is naturally wired to recognize it, right? If you feel a threat in your vicinity, you're on high alert, right? Like maybe your shoulders tense up, maybe your back gets really tight, maybe your stomach starts feeling like it in knots, your fists clench, or you feel fear. Like your whole nervous system is wired to protect you from physical harm. And it does a really good job of alerting you when to be uncomfortable, right? Like I know that you have been in positions where you felt physically uncomfortable and maybe you talked yourself out of reacting. Like you're at the gas station and somebody comes up to you, gentleman says hello, we'll call him a gentleman. Sometimes, right, the interaction is quick. But sometimes your body instantly gets frustrated because it's like hello, and then they pursue. And then they pursue. And when you try to be kind and say, like, no, thanks, I'm not interested, or I'm not giving out my number, whatever it is that you say, that's not a no to them, right? That's not a, I'm going to respect your boundaries. That's a, let me push a little bit harder. Let me keep asking and keep asking and keep asking until you violate your boundary, right? In those situations, your body feels physically stressed, your mind feels physically stressed, and either you're going to get loud, tell them to get the fuck away from you to protect yourself, right? Tell them to leave you alone. Or if you're like a lot of women, you're going to try to deflect a little bit, try to get him to walk away because we were taught we need to be nice, right? You don't want people to think you're rude. So that's an example, just an example. You're in at the gas station. I've had situations where I'm in an elevator and I feel physically uncomfortable with the way a man is looking at me. Sometimes men make really just gross gestures. And I think sometimes it's to get a rise out of you to see if you're going to react. So then they can say something else, whatever the thing may be. But physical safety is real, right? Like I won't go somewhere if I'm by myself and park in a parking garage. I don't feel comfortable in parking garages, so I don't go against my gut. Those are examples of physical safety. Emotional safety, way more difficult to figure out, but right? Physical safety, tangible. It's external, it's the things around you, right? But your insides are telling you be on high alert, pay attention. The internal safety is more confusing because it's more relational. It's all internal. Like to have emotional safety, you have to feel free to express yourself, free to be fully honest in your own truth, free to make mistakes without criticism or ridicule, free to be seen without thinking that there's punishment or shame or even like abandonment, this sense of like, because you're different, now you're going to be treated differently. That's abandonment in your family, right? So many of us are taught when we're little how to conform and ignore the emotional unsafety, right? To belong. The go cry in your room. I don't want to see that. The you're too much. The you're being dramatic. Those statements are all things that let you know what you're feeling is not wanted, what you're feeling is not accepted. And that's how you learn to feel unsafe and showing all the parts of who you are. That's just an example. So, why does this matter? So many of us, so many of us grew up physically safe, but emotionally starving. Emotionally starving. I'm talking about, you had a home, you had food on the table, the bills were paid, right? You were taken care of physically, but emotionally, you were desperate to connect with someone. And maybe you didn't even recognize it as that at the time. It was a little whisper that you made to yourself of maybe I better cry in my room. Or when somebody's being mean to you, maybe I shouldn't tell anybody. Maybe I need to just keep that to myself. Maybe when so and so hurts my feelings, I need to not be dramatic and just suck it up, right? All the lessons that we've learned, really keeping us away from that feeling of emotional safety. Maybe you're somebody who wasn't hit. Maybe you weren't like, I don't know, physically punished. I wasn't. But I definitely remember hearing the you're being ridiculous. You're being dramatic. Go cry in your room. Why do you make everything such a big deal? Now, here's the thing. As an adult, I recognize that the adults in my life did the best that they could, right? Because I think we're all just doing the best that we can. I don't think anybody wakes up and says, I cannot wait to screw things up for my kid. We don't do that. But my parents were so focused on physical safety, keeping a roof over our heads, food on the table, giving us the things that we needed, that there was very little room for the internal things we desired, right? Like be a good girl, get good grades, be kind, be respectful, take care of your responsibilities, which are all great foundational pieces to being a good human being. All of those things, but also like to be seen and to be heard and to be loved for who I am and what I felt was something that I desired as a child. And I don't think that I really got that, but I know that because it shows up in my relationships as an adult, right? Like it's really difficult, or it was really difficult for me to build true intimacy with people. And I'm not just talking about like a romantic partner, I'm talking about with anybody. It was really difficult for me to build true intimacy because I hid so many parts of myself. I didn't let people see when I was struggling because I didn't want to be judged. I didn't let my guard down because I didn't want to be seen as, I don't know, weak or dramatic or too much or not enough or whatever. So I molded myself essentially to be a part of relationships that really didn't support all of who I was. I didn't learn a lot of self-trust because I had to perform really, right? Like if I was constantly like looking at my relationships as I don't want to let them see this part of me, or I don't want to show this part of me, or I don't want them to know that I'm falling apart. I don't want them to know that I'm struggling. All of those things make me question me. If I can't let you see me, then I don't see me. I don't let me see me. So then I start to break trust with myself over and over and over again. And that's how so many of us end up being people pleasers, quieting our voices when somebody else upsets us, not speaking up for ourselves when somebody's disrespectful. freezing in a situation where we should be like, yo, back up. Like it's those reactions that we learned about shrinking who the hell we were because we had to fit for the environment. That whole hustle mentality, that whole like pushing to earn value, man, all of that is rooted in not feeling that emotional safety and self-trust. And I want you to just think about this for a second because so many of us are literally, as adults, trying to heal, trying to heal from things that we were never allowed to admit actually hurt us. We're trying to heal from things that we had to pretend we were fine with. So, emotional safety is something that I really focus on heavily with my clients because I think like that's the soil, right? That's where everything grows from. You can't have boundaries. You can't be a leader. You can't be comfortable with yourself. You can't be strong in your relationships. You can't be, and I don't mean strong in your relationships like strong, I don't deal with anything. You can't lead from a place of comfort and groundedness and centeredness if you were never able to use your voice, if you don't have that self-trust, if you don't know what your value or your worth is, right? So much of the work that I do is helping them understand how the way they feel about themselves, how the way that they share their voice, how the way that they focus so much on what they think other people think hinders them from growing and being the woman that they want to be. So that's the work, right? That's the work. But I tried like hell not to focus on like an end goal, right? I don't want to focus on a goal. I want to focus on what's blocking you from pursuing your goal without completely abandoning yourself. That's a focus of my coaching. And then I really just want women to feel safe to take up space, to use their voice, and not apologize for feeling how they feel or seeing the world how they see it. And I want that for other people because I want that for myself, right? And I don't want to apologize. I'm not going to spend my time apologizing for who I am or what I feel or how I see the world. Like, if you have an issue with the way I feel, then that's a projection of the way you feel. And that's what you need to work on, not telling me different, right? So that that took me a long time to get there. But how do you know? How do you know if you're someone who doesn't feel emotionally safe? Because you might be saying, I don't really know. Is that me? Is she really talking about me? I don't know. So how do you know? So one, you either shrink your voice or shrink what you actually need because you want to avoid conflict. So you might need something, you might want something, but you won't say it because you don't think it'll be received well. You don't want to deal with the conflict. Maybe after you've had conversations, you replay the conversation over and over and over in your head. Like, I should have said this, or I wish I didn't say this. Maybe I said too much. Maybe I did too much. You kind of go over it over and over in your head. Maybe you're somebody who downplays your wins. You don't celebrate yourself enough. You don't take up space when you did something great, or then the opposite. Maybe you're somebody who hides your pain. Maybe you're somebody who, like me, never let yourself cry in front of other people. It's rare. Like I'll be married 20 years this year, and I could probably count on one hand the amount of times that my husband has seen me cry. Not because I don't want to, but because it's been such a long time of programming to keep my shit to myself, the big feelings that are breaking me down. I'm so programmed to keep those things to myself that I actually struggle to release tears. And I'm not just talking about in front of him. I struggle to release tears in private. When I feel them coming, I start to intellectualize. I start to ask myself, how can I solve this problem instead of letting myself feel the feeling, right? That's a sign, that's a big sign that emotional safety was not like a priority for me. If you're considered the strong one, I know I paused for a second because I know a lot of you are considered the strong one. If you're considered the strong one, but nobody knows that you're actually in a lot of pain, I might be talking about you. This might be referring to you. So ask yourself this. Have you ever been struggling with something and then said to yourself, like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Someone else has it worse, right? You're telling yourself it's not that bad in the middle of your heart breaking. That means that's a good sign that you are navigating emotional unsafety. So, what do we do about it? How do you go from a lifetime, a lifetime of hiding what you feel, of hiding what you really want, of keeping your desires to yourself, of literally betraying yourself over and over again to keep the peace with other people? What do we do about that? What do we do? So, I think you start by letting yourself notice what it feels like when your body doesn't feel safe. And I'm not talking about physical safety. I'm talking about when somebody says something to you that's insulting and it feels like a gut punch, right? You feel that. You feel it before your mind even processes it. Your body's always recognizing it first before your heart and mind do. So let yourself notice it. Somebody says something insulting and you take a quick gasp, just notice it, right? Like, oh shit, my body felt tight for a second. Or, damn, that took my breath away, right? Those are physical signs that your body doesn't like what it's hearing. And it also doesn't like how you're about to justify it. It doesn't like how you're about to handle this in a way that makes you feel even worse. So that's the second part is give yourself permission to pause. If you feel that gut punch reaction, if you feel that, damn, that shit took my breath away, or, oh, I'm starting to get angry, I feel my body getting hot, my shoulders are getting tight, pause. You don't have to react. And I'm talking about you don't have to react negatively, like have an outburst, and you don't have to react in a way that says, I need to fix this. I need to do something to make this better, right? Don't do anything. Pause and then take the time to figure out how do you want to handle this. That could be a few seconds, that could be a few minutes, that could be a few days. It doesn't matter. Feel it, acknowledge it, pause, then make a decision that feels good for you. And then as you're going forward, you got to start being more intentional. I am learning, still to this day, learning to be real intentional about the relationships that I have. And yes, it's easier when the relationships we're talking about are friendships and things because friends you choose, family you don't choose, right? Family was kind of from birth given to you. And I'm super intentional about having relationships that honor all of me, right? I've had friendships that I kind of let go. I have no hard feelings, right? But it's just that I can't pour all of me into a relationship that doesn't really acknowledge all of me, right? And with family, I just kind of understand that there are some family members that make me feel so seen and so loved and so taken care of. And there are some family members that make me feel like I'm just tolerated. So, I mean, I spend a whole hell of a lot less time with them and I share very little to nothing. And I'm okay with that now. I didn't used to be okay with that, but I'm okay with that now. And I think it's super important to just understand that emotional safety is not about avoiding discomfort. I feel very emotionally safe with my husband, meaning I can talk to him about anything. And I'm also intentional with my words. I don't just like fly off the handle and say things that I'm going to regret. I love that man. I respect that man. And when I speak to him in a way that there is a problem that him and I need to discuss, but I'm not pointing the finger like he's the problem, right? That's not my jam. I'm not saying you got to fix this. No, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. What do we do now? That's just an example, but I feel very emotionally safe with him. That doesn't mean that bringing up difficult conversations is easy. It it's not easy. It's uncomfortable, it's awkward, sometimes it's painful, but it's necessary. And I know that when I go to him and I have this uncomfortable, possibly awkward conversation, that I'm not going to be punished for it. I'm not going to be judged for it. I'm not going to be shut down. Like, he's going to sit down and do the uncomfortable, awkward, difficult work with me because my emotional safety is important to him. His emotional safety is important to me. And moving forward together is important to both of us, right? So, knowing that emotional safety comes from being comfortable with discomfort, it helps you understand that the person that you're talking to needs to value the same things, first of all. But honesty between the two of you has to be a value, right? So you're not going to find emotional safety with somebody who doesn't value emotional safety. You're not going to be able to have an open, honest, uncomfortable conversation with somebody who places blame and points fingers and gaslights you. That's not your person to go to. So that's what I'm talking about, the intention. If you're trying to be intentional in your relationships, you open up to somebody who is mentally and emotionally available to have those conversations with you. And I think it's super important to recognize, like, and I say this all the time, but the things that I was not given will come from me. And I'm not talking about financial stuff. It will be financial stuff too, but the things that I was not given will come from me. Whatever I learned, whatever was handed to me that doesn't serve me, that shit stops with me. I'm not going to attack my children when they have big feelings. I'm not sending them to their room when they're upset about something. I open the door for us to talk. I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions. I help them come to their own conclusions. I don't judge. I don't pour advice into their faces, right? Like, they need to know that I can be a sounding board. I can be a voice of reason. I can be somebody who nurtures their self-trust. That's my job, to get them to trust themselves. When they were little, smaller, I knew that, self-reflection and recognizing what hurt you is not as easy when you're little. Just things hurt you, and then sometimes you can't put words to it. So I bought journals, empty little cute notebooks, and we called it a mommy and me journal. And if they were upset about something, they were free to write in the journal and just put it on my bed. And the rule was I could read it and respond to it in the journal, and we didn't have to talk about it if they didn't want to. Or if I wrote back and they didn't want to continue the conversation, it just stopped. But the point was to teach them that, one, I am a safe space. Two, they are a safe space because I can respond to them as well. Three, that there is no judgment and finger pointing in conversation. And four, keeping your feelings to yourself is never going to give you a good result in the end, right? So at a minimum, at that age, they learned to get the feelings out of them. When they got a little bit older and they got devices, like Mia just got a phone around Christmas time, if something's bothering them, they can feel free to text me. Like, there's not going to be judgment. There's not going to be a blowout. There's not going to be an argument. There's not going to be me pointing fingers and telling them where they're wrong or what they have every right to have their feelings, even if it's me who did something wrong. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow. And I have every right to have my feelings, and I have every right to express them also. And I can do that respectfully, right? But it's going to happen. I'm not keeping shit to myself. I'm not silencing myself, and I'm not teaching my children to silence themselves anymore either. That's why I say this. This will be the last thing I say about this today. My parents were so focused on physical safety and providing because they had to take a step forward from what they were given, right? I think every generation learns a little bit more and takes another step. So Maybe they didn't have all the physical safety, right? So that was a priority for them. And maybe I didn't have all the emotional safety, but it's because of them. It's because they gave me such a strong foundation of physical safety that I have the permission now to really focus in on emotional and mental safety, right? So if maybe their parents didn't have all the physical safety, and then they created the physical safety, which gave me permission to create the mental emotional safety. And now my girls have both physical and emotional safety. I'm excited of what they'll work through because listen, I'm going to get it wrong too. And there are things they're going to have to learn or unlearn, excuse me, unlearn from me because I don't get it all right. And then they get to continue moving forward for their generations, right? So I think every generation learns and unlearns things that heals another generation that comes after them. So it's never about finger pointing. For me, it's just about recognizing that there are things that I was taught that didn't serve me. And as an adult, I have the right and the responsibility to unlearn them for myself. One, because I deserve it. I deserve to feel good and whole and seen and valued and worthy and validated. I deserve all of that. And so do my kids, right? So when we do things like this for us, when we work through this unlearning, when we work through this unearthing of the parts of us that we buried, it's for us, but it's not about us. It's for us because we deserve it, but it's about something bigger. Everything that we heal in ourselves, we heal in our children, right? And we pass down completely different legacies. So that's what I'm here for. The new legacy, the healing me, the creating physical and mental emotional safety because we all deserve that at a minimum. That's it for today, guys. I thank you for joining me and tuning into another episode of Minding Mine. If this episode resonated with you, I want you to comment, rate, and review the podcast. Your feedback means the world to me. And I also want to invite you to the Worthy Woman Experience, August 9th in Southbury, Connecticut. We are going to be spending the day together getting into the physical safety, the emotional safety, the boundaries, the why am I always tired? No matter how much I rest, why am I always tired, right? All the things that we question about ourselves, we're getting into the Worthy Woman Experience. I'll link it in the show notes. If you're interested, evelynlevasseur.com/worthy dash woman and reserve your seat. And until next time, I'm asking you to go on out there, live your life on your terms, and mind your business. We will catch you in the next episode.